I had a conversation with someone recently and the topic of Minority Report came up. They called it an older film, saying it came out in 2004 or something like that. I was not prepared to feel as old as I did in that moment. And what's worse, it came out in 2002. That's even older. And with that, I have to apologise to all my fellow Gen Xers and millennials out there for calling 80s movies old. That little anecdote has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about in this video, but it did make me think of a sci-fi film that I don't think anyone can disagree that can be considered old. A film whose influence is still felt today, although not a lot of people have seen it. Nearly a century ago, in 1927, a film called Metropolis was released. Part of the German expressionist movement. They use exaggerated set design and high contrast lighting to not only communicate mood and vibe, but it also helped to cement a distinct cinematic style. This movie is often credited for being the single biggest influence on science fiction cinema ever, even beating out Star Wars. And with a bold claim like that, I just had to watch it. The movie introduces the world we live in. We see a glowing, sprawling city called Metropolis. Cars, people and planes bustle by, with skyscrapers reaching for the heavens. All the while, workers toil in the city down below, hidden away from the rest of the populace. Out of sight, out of mind. We follow Frida, a young man living in the paradise of the surface. A man who has never had to know hardship. He's also the son of the leader of Metropolis. He lives a sheltered life. But his world changes when a woman named Maria brings a load of children to the opulent gardens that were obviously not meant for them. He's infatuated by the lady, but more importantly, he's made curious. And just like when I walk into an overpriced cocktail bar wearing trainers, her presence is not welcome and she's made to leave. Engulfed by curiosity, Frida descends into the city below to see where she came from. Here he sees the machines that keep Metropolis going, all staffed by workers that will not see the world they keep afloat. When getting to the machine, Frida has a vision of Moloch, a Canaanite god presented in the Bible that demands human sacrifice, especially that of children. Here we see slaves being led up and tossed into the burning pit, making a direct and unsubtle comparison between hard labour and human sacrifice. And as soon as the vision ends, there's an explosion. Workers are sent flying, some engulfed in steam, others tearing off their uniforms now drenched in boiling water. All these sequences are visually stunning, they're big and ambitious, and throughout the film it uses a lot of symbolic imagery. Speaking of which, Frida visits his father, Johan Friedrichsen, to speak to him about what he has seen. He is absolutely horrified about what he has witnessed. He visits him in the Tower of Babel, which I don't really know why it's called that. If you know enough about the story of Babel, you'll know about the implications, a testament to man's hubris that doesn't end well. So to call your own tower that is an odd choice, but on another point of view, it could be a way to cement Friedrichsen's hubris. Babel failed the first time, but there's no way they can fail here. They will succeed in reaching the heavens. Either way, I get why it's there in the story. It's there to drive home the themes that underline the piece. It's just an odd trope that I've seen. He expresses his feelings to him, only to have those feelings callously dismissed. Friedrichsen says the people down below are where they belong. And sure, that's easy for someone like him to say. The status quo has resulted in him not having to do manual labour. Why would he want to change that? But Frida is appalled by that response, and does the thing that makes him such an empathetic character. He swaps places with a random worker. I read this as him realising his normal life has had a cost that is, up until now, unknown to him, and has now filled him with guilt. So the only way to release that guilt is to essentially throw his life away. And down in the catacombs, Frida sees Maria again. Here she's giving some sort of religious service, acting as some sort of prophet, telling of a coming saviour called the Mediator. If we want to continue the biblical symbolism, the mediator can easily be a stand-in for Jesus. Meanwhile, Friedrichsen plots with a mad scientist-inventor type named Rotwang, who has created the machinenmensch. Their plan is to give it the likeness of Maria, to break apart any solidarity of the workers. The visual effects here are nothing more than impressive. Some seemingly simple dissolve transitions wouldn't be nearly as simple as they are today, and the engineerings and the lighting I can only imagine it will be tedious to do. It can be easy nowadays to overlook something like that, but I just want to highlight it here. It's truly something special. And with the HD remaster, it doesn't really show its age. And while we're on the topic of VFX, just look at these cityscapes. All of those cars on the road, trains on the bridges, all those people walking. Like, what kind of magic did they use in 1927 to make it look this good and crisp? You compare it to a film like Solaris, released in 1972, 45 years later, and you have shots of the city like this. Building seems to have been cloned, and where the roads should connect, they just seemingly fade away. It doesn't look right. Granted, it was a quick shot, but I feel that really highlights the lengths they went to in this film to really sell the city of Metropolis. Lang visited New York some years before making this movie, and was really impressed by the skylines, and wanted to replicate something like that here. In Rotvang's house, we see a pentagram. Now, it's meant various things throughout history, from representing the five senses to the Seal of Solomon. But here I think it's alluding to the more pagan use. I say that because I think it offers a difference of symbolism than what we've seen before. If you notice on Rotvang's door, the pentagram is shown the right way up, but behind the machinenmensch is upside down. The pentagram is sometimes used to represent the four elements and the spirit, often depicting the spirit as the one on the top. But inverted, that means the four elements, or matter, have triumphed over the spirit. Considering Rotvang has made a new form of life, that is a clear use of mise-en-scène. He is successful and makes the machinenmensch look like Maria. We give him further biblical symbolism with the newly transformed machinenmensch being depicted as Babylon the Great, or less eloquently known as the Whore of Babylon. She's described in the Book of Revelation as a deceptive and corrupting figure that will lead to the downfall of man, again invoking direct symbolism. When watching this film, I didn't really know what to expect. I was thinking it would be a bit more science fiction, but really the sci-fi is just in the background, in the setting. Instead, it draws heavily from theological sources, making this a sort of mythological retelling, similar to how C.S. Lewis's The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe is a retelling of Jesus' death and resurrection. That said, it gives it a brand new spin, also drawing inspiration from Marxist philosophy, the class divide, the vast difference between the haves and the have-nots, the dangerous and dire working environments down below, and the upper class who are aware but do not care. It's unmistakably a commentary on industrial capitalism. The pro-Marxist philosophy the film has gets ironic when you read about the poor working conditions that some of the scenes were filmed in. The sequences of the flooding or the sacrifices to Moloch are apparently absolutely freezing. And reportedly, Bridget Helm, who played Maria, had an uncomfortable time in the machinenmensch costume. The influence of Metropolis cannot be overstated. You can see many traces of it in science fiction to this day. The design of C-3PO was inspired by the machinenmensch. The main city in Superman got the name Metropolis from this film. The skylines from Batman, The Fifth Element, The Matrix, Blade Runner, and countless others were influenced by this film. And the iconic scene in 1931's Frankenstein also drew heavy influence from Metropolis, and probably many other examples. While the genre was half a century away from being realised, it was also a great inspiration for cyberpunk, fitting many of the general conventions of the genre: class divide, oligarchs, high-tech low-life. One could argue that this really is the first cyberpunk movie. I would recommend anyone who's into classic sci-fi or cyberpunk to check this film out. Short silent movies are a bit difficult to get into nowadays, and the pacing of this film is a bit slow. But I think it's still worth a watch, even if the only reason is just to recognise the footprint it's had in cinema over the past century. I would also recommend this film as a jumping off point if you want to get into silent films. The copyright of this movie has now lapsed and is now in the public domain. So if you are wanting to watch it, not hard to find somewhere online for it. Well, thank you very much for watching. Have you seen Metropolis? Are there any other films that have been influenced by it? Please let me know down below. I love to hear what you think about this film. And yeah, if you like what you see, please subscribe, and we'll see you later.